First of all, I just want to thank ICAN for inviting me here and for the leadership that they've shown in developing this campaign and working on this issue for so long. And I also really want to thank everyone here for the incredible hard work that people all around the world have put into making this happening. It's really been a joint effort by so many people. We just updated our number of partner organizations on Friday, and today we're 468 partner organizations in ICAN in 101 countries. And not only that, we also have many more friends and supporters and people that work together with us, even though they're not officially a part of ICAN. And it's just really fascinating, I think, that the most powerful countries in the world, the richest countries in the world, the biggest military powers in the world wanted to stop this. And they tried. They did really try to stop it. And a bunch of NGOs made it happen anyway. And I think it says something about the incredible power behind this initiative and how powerful the idea of prohibiting nuclear weapons and being able to do it without them has been. So it's really been an extraordinary achievement by civil society as a whole, I think. And I'm personally very honored to have been a part of it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the treaty and what it is. If you haven't got a copy of it, it's on the ICAN website, icanw.org. You can find it there. But obviously it's UN language. It can be difficult sometimes for people to kind of understand really what it is. The treaty, it prohibits nuclear weapons, you know. It's pretty great. It prohibits the development of nuclear weapons, testing, producing, manufacturing, transferring, possession, stockpiling, using or threatening to use nuclear weapons. So it's a really comprehensive prohibition on all activities related to that. It also prohibits assistance, encouraging or inducing with those prohibited acts, which means that countries cannot help other countries to produce nuclear weapons or use nuclear weapons. And in addition to that, as Rebecca mentioned, it also prohibits stationing and deployment of others' nuclear weapons on your territory. So it's a real clear, comprehensive prohibition on nuclear weapons, and very different to other nuclear weapons-related treaties that somehow tries to restrict behavior but doesn't really get to the core problem of having nuclear weapons. One of the key sort of impressive parts of the treaty is really the progressive language on victim assistance and environmental remediation. For the first time, a nuclear weapons treaty includes that the states must provide assistance to victims of the use and testing of nuclear weapons, and to take measures towards the environmental remediation of any use or testing. And I think that's really central for this treaty. It really highlights that this didn't come from a security-driven focus. This comes from a humanitarian concern, that kind of discussion. This is about the victims of nuclear weapons. And sometimes when I hear people criticize this treaty that, oh, the nuclear armed states aren't going to join it, so it's meaningless. If this treaty, through this provisions on victim assistance, helps one person, how can you say it's meaningless? So I think it also provides a very concrete way of engaging and taking action and implementing it, even if you're not a nuclear armed state. So it also provides for ways to eliminate nuclear weapons. You can, as a nuclear armed state or as a state with nuclear weapons on your territory, can, according to the treaty, join and then negotiate how to remove your nuclear weapons. And I think that's also really important. There is nothing that stops a nuclear armed state or a state with nuclear weapons on its soil to participate in this treaty and to join it. It also doesn't prevent any military cooperation with states that are not parties to the treaty. Just as the treaty with landmines and cluster munitions didn't destroy NATO, for example, neither will this treaty. It will be perfectly possible to continue to be in military alliances with a non-state party, as long as that doesn't mean that you carry out prohibited activities. So this treaty will open for signature. It was adopted on 7th of July, and it will open for signature in New York on 20th of September, which will be a really great moment for everyone who has worked on this. We're going to see states put their signature on paper to sign on to this treaty. We're obviously hoping for a big number of states, but of course this is signing a treaty is slightly different than just voting in favor of it. Some states need some more time. They need to make sure that they have all their internal ministries and departments checking the text, analyzing it. So we're hoping to reach 100 states as quickly as possible. I think that will be a nice sort of benchmark to aim for. Once the treaty opens for signature, states will also start ratifying it. That's sort of the formal step to making it law for a state. And that sometimes involves national legislation, approval by parliaments, and that can take also quite a long time, for example. We've looked at other treaties, recent treaties, such as the Landmines Treaty, the Cluster Munitions Treaty, the Chemical Weapons Convention, the Arms Trade Treaty, and we think getting to about 50 states ratifying, which is the limit for it to enter into force officially and become international law, could take around 1.5 to 2 years. So we will obviously work really hard to make sure that as many states do as quickly as possible, but it is a bit of a bureaucratic process in countries. So hopefully by the end of 2018, we hope to have the treaty enter into force. The strength of this treaty and sort of making it work, making it a norm, will depend a lot on the number of states joining it and a lot on how we implement the treaty. So I think for all of us, it's going to be very important to work extremely focused on getting states to sign and ratify this treaty. It needs to enter into force quickly, so it becomes international law. And then we need to use it as effectively as possible. We need to make sure that all the states that have joined it implement it fully, that they follow the prohibition, that they develop relevant national legislation. We will work with activities such as Don't Bank on the Bomb, for example, to end financing and make sure that it has an impact. We will work with states to ensure that there are resources for victims of nuclear use and testing, and that we look at environmental remediation. But also to make sure that this treaty has an impact beyond the state parties. We're going to need to use this treaty as a starting point to change the discussion on nuclear weapons, also in the nuclear armed states and nuclear alliance states. Basically, this treaty is a way to expose those that keep upholding nuclear weapons, that might say that they want nuclear disarmament sometime in the future, but aren't actually willing to do anything. And I think that that's one of the most powerful part of this treaty, is that it boils everything down to a very simple question: are nuclear weapons okay or not? I think that's really the kind of powerful discussion we need to have all over the world right now. So this is really our treaty. I think that civil society has worked so hard to get it, and we should feel a lot of ownership to it. And we should take a moment to really celebrate what we have achieved, but then get back to work and make sure that it becomes a success. So, thank you.
You have a nice note here. Thank you.